All right, so we're going to tackle one more problem, and it looks a little intimidating, but actually I think you're going to find that it's easier. So when we do this division, we're trying to see if x squared plus 2x minus 3 is a factor of this polynomial. We're dividing by x squared plus 2x minus 3. And when we do that, that's a quadratic with 3 terms. And so it's actually going to move a little bit faster when we do this division. So let's go ahead and get it all set up. And okay, so we're good. So again, we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing. We are going to start with the x squared and the 2x to the fourth, and we're going to say x squared times what makes 2x to the fourth, and that's going to be 2x squared. So it's going to go right here over the other x squareds. The only difference with what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and multiply that 2x squared times all 3 of these in the divisor. So I'm going to do 2x squared times x squared, that's 2x to the fourth, 2x squared times 2x, that's positive 4x cubed, and then 2x squared times negative 3 is negative 6x squared. So you just want to take a second and make sure all your math is good there before we move on. Because mistakes here will sort of have a ripple effect. We want to make sure everything is right from the start. Alright, so when I go to subtract my x to the fourth terms, 2 of those minus 2 of those, 0 out. When I look at my x cubes, I've got 4x cubed minus another 4x cubed, those 0 out. That's kind of helpful. And then when I look at my x squareds, I have negative 5, and then I'm supposed to subtract negative 6, which really means we're adding 6. So that's going to give me x squared. And then in this case, I need to bring down 2 terms, plus 3x and the minus 2, because I need to have 3 terms here to multiply against the x squared minus, or plus 2x minus 3. All right, so we're just going to start here. X squared times what makes x squared? So that's 1. And then I'm going to do the 1 times, again, all 3 of these. So I'm going to get x squared for the first term plus 2x minus 3. When we multiply by 1, it stays exactly the same. So then I'm going to go ahead and do my subtraction. And the x squareds cancel. 3x minus 2x, that's going to give me just x. And negative 2 minus negative 3, well, that means we're actually adding. So that's going to be plus 1. So when I look at this, I go, okay, this x plus 1 is too small for me to divide into with the x squared anymore. So this divisor is now too large to divide in here. I've done everything I can. So when we look, we do have a remainder. This is our remainder. So we would say no, x squared plus 2x minus 3 is not a factor. Now, if we were going to go ahead and write our answer to this problem, though, like what is the output or the quotient, we would write it like we did up above, where we start with the quotient plus the remainder over the divisor. So the quotient is this part here. So my answer is 2x squared plus 1. And then my remainder is the x plus 1. X plus 1. My divisor is x squared plus 2x minus 3. And then we just throw a plus sign in here. This is actually our answer to this division problem. But all we were really looking for is it a factor? I just wanted y'all to see how these answers are written, because some of the practice that you're going to do is going to have you write out your answers this way, where you have the quotient plus the remainder over the divisor. Okay, so there's another way to do division besides long division. Long division has a name for a reason. It takes a long time. It's a long process. We do have an easier way to do it called synthetic division. But the key here is it only works when we have a linear binomial as a factor. So let's just make a little note here. It only works for linear binomials. What's a linear binomial? A linear binomial is one of the factors we're used to seeing, x minus a. Right, so it wouldn't work for the problem that we last attempted where we were dividing by a quadratic. We can't do synthetic division this way. So let's go over this little shortcut here. We have a problem that we've seen before, 6x cubed minus 19x squared plus 16x minus 4. And we are trying to do this division, dividing by x minus 2. And so what we're going to do is we take this factor here, this is our factor, and let's identify what is the 0. So if that was your factor, your 0 would be x equals 2. Right? Another way of thinking about that is when I plug in 2 to this, we're going to see what we get out. Alright, so we're going to use that 2, and we're going to put that in this little box here. So we always place the 0 here. And then we take just the coefficients. This is the part that's kind of nice about synthetic division. So I just take the 6, the negative 19, the 16, and the negative 4. 6, negative 19, positive 16, negative 4. Leave a little space because we're going to write some things. And then what we do to get started is we bring down the first coefficient below the line, 6. And the process is going to feel kind of similar to long division, but there's one key difference. So I bring this down and I say 2 times 6, and I get 12. That's how I write this number here. And then in synthetic division, we add instead of subtracting. Okay, that's the key difference here. So negative 19 plus 12, I get negative 7. Now I do the process again. Now I do the 0 up in this corner here times this number, and we get 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. All right, I'm going to add these again. 16 and negative 14 makes 2. And then 2 times 2, last process, this times this, and that's going to go in our last spot here, 4. And then the last number here always gets a little box around it, and it represents your remainder. And so you can see here, this is just like the problem that we did on the front. We did it long division style, but this is a lot faster. And we can see that the remainder is 0, so yes, it's a factor. And then when you're looking at what your quotient would be, you kind of want to go back and say, look, we're dividing 6x cubed by an x. That means we're going to go down by 1 degree for our answer. So the dividend was x cubed. Our quotient is going to be x squared. So when I look at the 6, negative 7, and 2, if I were going to write the answer, I would say, well, that's 6x squared, because we went down by 1 degree, minus 7x plus 2. And the 0 is not really part of our answer. It's our leftover. So that's sort of the quick and dirty version of synthetic division. The key things you really want to look out for are any times where we're missing terms. So let's take a look at this. Let's identify our factor here, x plus 3. If that's our factor, take a second and figure out what your 0 is. So that would be x equals negative 3. That's what goes in the box in the corner. And then we need to look very carefully at our coefficients. So we've got x to the 4th. So there's 1 x to the 4th. How many x cubes do you guys see? Right, it goes from x to the 4th to x squared. So that's actually 0 x cubes, but we need that placeholder. Then we go down to x squared, and the coefficient there is negative 10. Then we go to x to the power of 1, that coefficient is negative 2. And then our last number is 4. Okay, so here we go. Same process. Bring down the first coefficient, multiply it times our 0. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Remember, we're not subtracting, we are adding. So I add these up, I get negative 3. Then I do it again. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. Add those up, we get negative 1. Negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. Add these up, I get 1. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Add these up, I get 1. Remember, that last number is your remainder. Okay? And so when I look at this, I get 1 as my answer. So that's our remainder. So is x minus 3 a factor? No, it's not a factor. If we want to write our answer as our final output, let's do that. Remember, 1 is going to be our remainder. And let's start with this term right here. Think about what we started with. We started with x to the 4th. So this is going to go down by 1 degree. So we're going to have 1x cubed. And then these all are going to be descending powers. Minus 3x squared minus x minus 1x plus 1. And then we have a remainder this time. So we'd say plus 1 over, and we were dividing by x plus 3. So that's going to go right here. I know we had our 0 of negative 3, but when we write our answer, we put the factor back here, or the divisor. Okay, that one is done. When you look at the next one, what you notice is we've got 2 linear binomials, and we're going to try and do 2 rounds of synthetic division on this. So when we do our 2 rounds of synthetic division, it doesn't really matter which one we start with, so I'm just going to go ahead and start with the x plus 3. Now, if that is my factor that we're looking to see, I'm going to go ahead and put the 0 for that in the corner. And then I'm going to take my coefficients, 1, 2, negative 5, and 6. And I'm going to put those right here. I'm going to try and write small to leave a little bit of space. So bring down the 1. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Add these up, I get negative 1. A negative times a negative turns positive. Add those up, I get negative 2. Negative times negative, negative 3 times negative 2, I get 6. Oh, I forgot my minus sign on that original problem. There we go. 1, 2, negative 5, and negative 6. Those are my coefficients. So when I look at these, negative 6 and 6 add up to 0. So we can say, yeah, x plus 3 is a factor. And now we have this 1, negative 1, and 2. And we can do another round of division with that. So I'm going to use just the same space, and I'm going to take the 0 from x minus 2's factor, and that's 2. And then I'll bring down this 1, and we'll do it again. 2 times 1 is going to be 2. Add these up, I get 1. 2 times 1 again is 2. And I get 0 again. So we just did 2 rounds, and so what we've got left is this 1 and 1. And so we went from a cubic when we had our original problem. We did 1 round of division, took us down to a quadratic. And then our final answer here, this 1 plus this 1 and this 1, just represent x plus 1. That's our answer. And so if you think about it, if we multiplied all these back together, x plus 1 and then the 2 factors we divided by, x plus 3 and x minus 2, we would get that cubic that's on top of that fraction.